Hello, welcome to Papa Nick's Music. I am, as always, your host, Papa Nick Lewis. And this week, I was going to do a political video about how easily people believe lies in our discourse. But as I was working on it, I came to a realization. It was 40 years ago, 1984, that Ronald Reagan used Bruce Springsteen's "Born in the USA" as a campaign song. Got some pushback from Bruce about that because Bruce didn't particularly want to be associated with Ronald Reagan. Give him credit for that. But there were a lot of people who, at the time, thought "Born in the USA" was a very patriotic song, which, I mean, on its face, it's a ludicrous concept. All you have to do is listen to the lyrics. And granted, it's hard sometimes to tell what Bruce is saying because, he's giving himself a hernia as he sings the song. But from what little you can pick up, you can tell this is not a song about how wonderful it is to be born in the USA. And it just, it depressed me to think that here we are 40 years later and we've still got the same problem. It's bigger, it's worse, it's horrible. And I just couldn't deal with it. So I changed my mind. I can't talk about music yet, though, because all of my music bandwidth is taken up with my ongoing Paul McCartney solo catalog exploration, which I am not done with. And so what am I going to talk about? But then I realized, Thunderbolts is premiering this week. May 2nd, Friday, May 2nd, Thunderbolts is being released, the latest MCU movie. And I realized way back when I first started doing these talking head videos, my first video was a ranking of the Beach Boys album. And in that, I had a little introduction where I talked about what I wanted to do with these videos. And I said then that one of the things that I was thinking about doing was talking about the MCU, because I am a big fan of the MCU. I haven't done it, mostly because I don't want to get into a pissing contest with with a bunch of fanboys. But it has been present on my mind to do since I started doing these videos, because I've always been a fan of the Marvel Universe. When I was a kid, I grew up reading Marvel Comics. I read Marvel Comics from, as early as I could read up through, when I finished working on my master's degree. So, I was reading comics for a long time there, still have plenty of them. And I was always a Marvel fan. I was a Spider-Man guy. He was my hero, which is why I've got a Spider-Man up here on this shelf that my sister made for me several years ago. But I also love Daredevil. I love the Avengers. I love the Fantastic Four. Come on. I love this stuff. And I've always loved this stuff. And so I have always wanted to talk about it. Like I said a second ago, I don't want to get into pissing contests, though. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of guys out there, and yeah, they tend to be guys, who think that the way they look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the only way to look at it. And I don't want to get into that. There are an uncomfortably large number of, or there is an uncomfortably large number of toxic fanboys in the Marvel camp. It's not as bad as the Star Wars camp, but it runs at a close second place. And I don't want to get involved with that nonsense. But I figured, now's a good time to do it. I need something to distract me from the horror show that is America under the second Trump administration. So, Marvel Heroes it is. So this week we're going to talk about the movies of the MCU. Next week we're going to talk about the TV shows. We're going to rank them. It's not going to be a top 10. It's going to be a true ranking, and not just because my imported Schofferhofer beer is now expensive, because even though this is a ranking, it's unofficially sponsored by Dos Equis. I don't always drink beer when I'm ranking Marvel movies, but when I do, I drink Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends. I'm not afraid of stealing somebody's commercial product. Or commercial line, I should say. It's good beer. It's no Schofferhofer, but it's good beer. So we're going to rank movies this week. I am going to take the same approach that I took with the Beach Boys. I'm not going to rank all of them. There's 35 of these things, for God's sake, not counting Thunderbolts, since it's not out yet and I haven't seen it yet. And there's no way I'm going to rank all 35 of these things. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with my Beach Boys albums. I'm going to give you my bottom 5 and then my top 10. Before we get into any of this, though, we have to do the subjectivity notice. We firmly believe here at Papa Nick's Music that there is no such thing as objectively good or objectively bad art. There is art that I like and art that I do not. And as long as we keep that in mind, this is a wonderful conversation. It's an opportunity to see something you love from somebody else's perspective, which is always good, I would argue. The conversation, though, goes off the rails real quickly as soon as somebody in the conversation insists on being seen as absolutely, objectively, positively right. So if you come at me with, no, that movie is objectively superior to that other movie, and it, for whatever cockamamie reason you come up with, just know, as soon as you say this movie movie A is objectively better than movie B, I'm not listening to you anymore. You are not making an argument that I recognize as being logically sound. Cool? So let's talk about this. Let's rank these movies. Like album rankings, when I do an album ranking, I listen to all the albums with the ranking in mind. I have not done that with the movies. I'm just relying on memory with the movies. But I listen to all the albums, and then I assign them letter grades as a way of roughly sorting them. A C is considered competent professional work. I'm neither recommending it nor recommending against it. It's what you would expect from competent professionals. If I give it a B, that means that I think that there is something about it that is good, that is better than the average, better than the typical, and so I would recommend it. If I give it a D, I think there's something about it that is bad, that is worse than the typical, so I do not recommend it. And if I give it an A, it's because I think it's superlative. I strongly recommend it. If I give it a B, that means or an F, that means I think it's crap, and I strongly do not recommend it. Of these 35 movies, I will tell you right up front, I've got one C. Then I've got a handful of Bs and a whole slew of As. I've got, out of these 35 movies, 21 of them get an A. Okay? So let's just say right off the bat here that with one exception, you could pick any one of these movies and I would say, go for it. You'll love it. It's a good movie. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through this. I'm going to start with my bottom 5. I'm also going to go through this pretty quickly. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the plots of these movies. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the circumstances surrounding them, how much it adheres to or differs from the original Marvel comics or any of that kind of nonsense. That's not my goal here. I'm just going to. I'm taking a little time to tell you which movies I think are the best, which ones I think are the ones that are the most entertaining, which are the ones that I'm the most likely to watch again. Don't get too deep here. I'm going to start with my bottom 5. Like I said, of these 35 movies, there is one that I would give a C to. So that comes in at the bottom. My number 35, the lowest ranked Marvel Cinematic Universe movie is 2021's The Eternals. Eternals was not a bad movie. I mean, I give it a C. There's nothing about it that makes me say, oh my God, run, screaming in the other direction. This thing is a steaming pile of shit. I mean, it's not that bad. It's a competently made movie. But there was nothing about it that made me want to watch it again. It is, in fact, of these movies, one of only 2 movies that I've only seen the one time. I haven't ever felt the need to go back and rewatch Eternals. I probably will at some point, if only because Eternals has one of my favorite Marvel characters, Dane Whitman, the Black Knight. Wastes him. Wastes Kit Harington just unbelievably. But still. So, Eternals, number 35. Not a great movie. Okay, from here on out, remember, B's are better, B minus or better, okay? My number 34, second from the bottom, I would put 2013's Thor: The Dark World, the second Thor movie. Fairly widely considered to be one of the weaker movies of the first couple of phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not a bad movie, but for the most part, the Thor movies don't grab me as much as the other movies do, so there's no surprise that it comes in this low. Coming in at number 33, I've got a movie that I almost considered not including because it's the other movie that I've only seen the one time. And I've only seen it the one time because it's the newest one. It's from February of this year, and it is Captain America, Brave New World. And I fear that I'm being unfair to Captain America, Brave New World. I've only seen it the one time. And I can't put my finger on what it is about the movie that disappoints me. Because I've only seen it the one time. I was excited about the movie. It's the first movie with Sam Wilson as Captain America instead of Steve Rogers. And I was looking forward to that. As much of a fan as I am of Steve Rogers, when I was a kid, I was also a fan of Sam Wilson, so I got no problem with Captain America being Sam Wilson instead of Steve Rogers. I was also interested to see how they would use Harrison Ford stepping into William Hurt's shoes as General Ross. I was a little bit excited when I found out that Tim Blake Nelson was coming back, reprising the character he played in the original Incredible Hulk movie, the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk movie. And so there were a lot of things going for this movie. And it didn't land for me, and I'm not sure why. And because I'm not sure why, I considered leaving it out entirely. But for reasons that I'll get into here in a little bit, I needed to go ahead and pad out my bottom five here. So I went ahead and included it. At number 33, we have Captain America, Brave New World. At number 32, talking about movies that I wanted to like, that's decent beer. Not as good as Schofferhofer, but that's not bad. Talking about movies that I wanted to like, of all of these movies, this was the one that was the most disappointing to me because Scarlett Johansson did so much heavy lifting in the first, couple of phases of the first phase, I should say, whatever the hell it is, the first handful of movies of this of the MCU. She did so much, and she did it so well. She deserved so much better than she got with 2021's Black Widow. Black Widow is not that great of a movie. I mean, it's got a solid B. It's not a bad movie, but it is so disappointing. It's so disappointing that the plot of the movie is essentially the plot of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I mean, we even have the climactic battle in midair. I mean, oh my God, it's frustrating that they gave Scarlett Johansson such a crappy script to work with. I really don't care for the story of Black Widow. It is as high as it is, mostly because it introduces us to David Harbour and Florence Pugh as the Red Guardian and the new Black Widow, respectively, and they are both a delight. A big chunk of the reason why I'm excited about watching Thunderbolts when it's released this weekend. But yeah, Black Widow, no thank you. Number 32. Okay, number 31. I'll take a pause before I do this. I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons why I don't like to talk about this, or why I've been hesitant to talk about this, I don't want to get into a pissing contest with the fanboys. And this next one is going to start a pissing contest. This next one is, I think, widely, if not universally acclaimed as one of the best Marvel movies. It's like, oh, this thing is just, oh, now that's how you do it, they said. That's how you do it. That's how you do a Marvel movie. And I was not impressed at all. There were a few features of it that I thought were clever, that I enjoyed. But overall, I did not come away from my viewing of 2024's Deadpool and Wolverine with a warm, fuzzy feeling. Um, Now, I'm going to admit right up front a couple of things here. Number one, I have great respect for Ryan Reynolds. I think he's a wonderful comic actor. I think he's very bright. He's got a very quick wit. I admire that greatly. And I love Hugh Jackman. I mean, come on. I loved that they brought back the different variants from different cinematic universes, that we've got Wesley Snipes, that we've got Chris Evans as Johnny Storm rather than Steve Rogers. I mean, very clever. Channing Tatum's fantastic, right? So there are elements of this movie that I really liked. But as much as I like Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, the character Deadpool, just irritates the shit out of me. The first Deadpool movie I thought was okay. The second Deadpool movie grated on my nerves, and this third one flung my nerves down and danced upon them. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Deadpool movies. I'm not a big fan of and particularly not a big fan of Deadpool and Wolverine. So, fanboys unite! Come, burn dog poop on my doorstep. I understand. I forgive you. And it would be even worse if I had lopped out Captain America Brave New World in order to have a bottom five. I would have to tell you what the next ranked movie is. And I think if people knew that I had ranked at number 30 one of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, oh man, the hubbub would be fierce. Not a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy either. But that's my bottom five. Now, let's go up to the top 10. These are the ones that I really, 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 really like. Coming in at number 10, we've got from 2021, Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I have to confess, I'm getting tired of the multiverse. I'm getting tired of watching movies where I'm having to... It's like, wait, who is that? Wait, which reality is... It's like, oh man, they opened a can of worms with the multiverse that they have not satisfactorily dealt with, and the level of fan service that goes into these is uncomfortably high. All that being said, Spider-Man No Way Home is the best of the multiverse movies as far as I'm concerned. I am particularly pleased at how well it worked out bringing in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man to work with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. That worked. That triad worked so much better than I thought it would. Bringing in the villains from the various other Spider-Man movies also worked better than I thought it would. So there were elements to this movie, even though it was a multiverse movies, and those tend to get on my nerves after a little while. It worked in this one. So I really liked Spider-Man No Way Home. It's my number 10 MCU movie. Now, my number 9 MCU movie. The way most of the Marvel fanboys think about what Ryan Reynolds has done with Deadpool is what I think about what Paul Rudd has done with Ant-Man. I love Paul Rudd's movies in the MCU. I love his portrayal of Ant-Man, and I love the Ant-Man movies. Yes, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I've got it number 20. A good 11 slots higher than Deadpool and Wolverine. Just in case you want further ammunition, fanboys. But I loved Ant-Man. 2015's Ant-Man, I've got it number 9. I like Paul Rudd's performance in this, but I also like Evangeline Lilly. I like Michael Douglas. I have to be careful because every time I've tried to say this, as I've been practicing, as I've been working through my script, I've said Michael Keaton every time instead of Michael Douglas. I'm proud I got it right this time. I like the comedic interaction between Ant-Man and his cronies. I like Ant-Man. I think it's a good movie. It's number 9. Number 8, we have one of the originals, one of the old school movies, 2017's Captain America: First Avenger, the first Captain America movie. I really like this. It does a good job establishing Steve Rogers as the hero that he becomes. Even when he's scrawny Steve Rogers, he is that same hero, which is the important element of Steve Rogers. It's why the super serum worked with Captain America, and it didn't work with all of these other people who have taken it, because all these other people who have taken it weren't already good to begin with. Steve Rogers was. So I love that. I love the way they scrawnied, if that's a word, Chris Evans down. It's very well done. And it's Stanley Tucci. I mean, come on, he steals the show in his few scenes toward the beginning. Coming in at number 7, another Spider-Man movie. This time it's 2017's Spider-Man Homecoming. The first Spider-Man movie in the MCU. Not his first appearance, but the first movie. His first dedicated movie. I liked this movie when it came out. I liked the decisions that they made with the MCU's version of Spider-Man. I liked that we didn't have to sit through yet one more cinematic version of Peter Parker getting bitten by the radioactive spider. I love that they said, you know that if you're watching a Spider-Man movie, you don't have to see it. Good decision there. And so I like that they didn't go back and give us the full origin story. And I also liked Michael Keaton as the Vulture. I loved the way that they reimagined the Vulture. I thought that was very well done. But I love Spider-Man Homecoming. Good movie. Coming in at number 6. I don't think it should be horribly surprising given my reading habits when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I read almost exclusively Marvel comics. My favorite superhero was Spider-Man, followed closely by Daredevil, followed closely by Captain America. This is what I grew up reading. And so it's not surprising to me that I've got multiple Spider-Man movies and multiple Captain America movies in my top 10. At number 6, I've got my second Captain America appearance. We have 2014's Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which I think a lot of people would probably have as their number 1, because it is it's a rock solid movie. It is a good movie, not just as a superhero movie. It's just a good movie. It's got a good story to it. It's just I like the ones above it a little bit better. But Winter Soldier is a fantastic movie. It's got a good plot to it. It's got it's got a good amount of suspense. There's enough twisty-turny to the plot that the first time you watch it, it's keeping you entertained, and every time you watch it afterwards, you get to see the foreshadowing that they do and all of that stuff. It's a very well-made movie. It's my first A+. As far as the grades go. We're at number 6. From here on out, we're in A+ territory. It's amazing. Coming in at number 5, I've got my first Avengers movie, Avengers Infinity War. I would put it number 5. As you know, Infinity War and Endgame were back-to-back, released a year apart, and Infinity War was the gut punch, right? Because we're all watching this movie and we get to the end and people start flaking and drifting and floating away after Thanos wins. No, the bad guy's not supposed to win, and Thanos won. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Thanos, with a snap of his fingers, makes 50% of all living beings in the universe disappear. Jeez Louise. I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, if the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies have a problem, same problem that the comics have, actually, it's in order to ramp up the conflict, right? You have a movie and this is what happens. Well, the next movie that comes, it's got to raise it. It's got to be more. And then the next one's got to be even more than that. And then the next one's got to be even more than that, right? And you have to keep ratcheting up the stakes. Otherwise, you know. And before long, you get to a point where you're doing things that we can't conceive of anymore. And this is one of those. It's a good example of that kind of thing. We've got instantaneously 50% of all living beings disappear, and that is a level of psychic trauma that everything that comes after simply doesn't adequately address. It's one of the problems with the MCU post Infinity War and Endgame is that this is a thing that should have driven a significant number of us completely fucking bananas, completely out of our tree, howling at the moon, crazy. One of the reasons why I like WandaVision, spoiler for next week, Wanda went crazy. More of us should have done that. And so it's not fair of me to blame Infinity War for that. But that's one of the reasons why it's at number 5 rather than higher. It introduces a problem that makes it suffer. It's unfair. Que sera, sera. Coming in at number 4. Another Captain America movie. We've got Captain America Civil War from 2016. Captain America Civil War might as well be an Avengers movie. I mean, it's got most of the Avengers in it. It's got Iron Man. Obviously, it's got Captain America, but it also has Iron Man. It's got Vision. It's got War Machine. It's got Black Widow. It's got Black Panther. It's got Cap's team. We've got Hawkeye and Ant-Man and Winter Soldier. And, I mean, it's got all these people. So it might as well be an Avengers movie. And I think it's got a very good story to it. The idea that this group of heroes can be fractured, it can be split, even though at heart they agree with one another. They agree with one another that they are they don't disagree in terms of what they should be doing. They disagree in terms of who is accountable for it. And what could come across as the Tony Stark faction that is willing to cede authority to a governmental entity, being juxtaposed against the Steve Rogers faction that wants to stay in charge themselves, that they don't want to be beholden to a governmental entity. It could have been presented that way, but that's not how it's presented. It's the Stark faction that wants to cede authority, and the Steve Rogers faction that says that their own authority is going to be better than the governmental authority, that they're going to make decisions for better reasons, for more humane reasons, for more human reasons than a governmental entity would. And I like that a lot. Definitely on Captain America's side on that one. But I enjoy Captain America Civil War. I've watched it many, many times, and it is my number 4. My number 3 movie. Okay. We're back to that problem. The problem that they tried to solve in 2019's Avengers Endgame. Endgame is a fantastic movie and deserves to be as high as it is, if only for the power of that ending. When first, and I just gave myself goosebumps thinking about it, when all of those heroes return from the blip, when Captain America is revealed as being worthy enough to wield Mjolnir, oh man, when Tony Stark sacrifices himself to save everyone else, it has just such a satisfying ending. The conclusion of the character arcs for both Tony Stark and for Steve Rogers are just picture perfect. I mean, it's note by note perfect, exactly the way it should be. Very well done. No matter what they do from here on out, as long as I've got no problem with Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the MCU to play Doctor Doom. Got no problem with that at all. I can see how they could explain it in a bunch of different ways. I've got no problem if Chris Evans, it turns out, wants to come back to the MCU. Got no problem with that at all. But he can't come back as Captain America, just like Robert Downey Jr. can't come back as Iron Man. Those characters, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, got their perfect endings, and it needs to be left that way. And those perfect endings are so rock solid that Endgame, for that reason alone, deserves to be number 3 on this list. Now, I think from what little watching I've done of other people's MCU rankings, I've already hit the movies that most people are putting at number 1. Most people are putting like Winter Soldier or Endgame at number 1. Not what I'm putting at number 1. It's not even what I'm putting at number 2. At number 2, I've got the movie that started it all, 2008's Iron Man. Now, I think a lot of comic book movie fans give Tim Burton credit for revitalizing the comic book movie. When Tim Burton released Batman, his Michael Keaton Batman, the thing that he did that was different compared to other superhero movies in the past. Other superhero movies in the past did one of two things. They either saw the primary demographic being kids, or they saw the camp spoof nature of it. And here I'm thinking of the 1960s Adam West Batman as a good example of both of those. Tim Burton didn't do that. Tim Burton made a relatively adult version of Batman. Now, there's still a lot of camp in there, but still, he treated the subject matter much more seriously than anybody had before. Possible exception of Superman, the Chris Reeves Superman, but still, Christopher Reeves Superman, excuse me. Don't want to be disrespectful. But Tim Burton got a lot of credit for making comic book movies like gritty, adult. But I think that credit really should go to Jon Favreau. Iron Man was the movie that kicked off superhero movies. We got a lot of superhero movies now. It's not just the MCU. We've also got DC movies and whatnot. And Iron Man was the movie that showed how it could be done by being respectful of the source material. And even as I'm saying this, I'm realizing you could say the same thing about Ron Perlman's portrayal of Hellboy, which predates Iron Man by quite a bit. But I'm not going to let pesky details get in the way of my narrative, baby. I'm sticking with Iron Man as number 2 because it's just a fantastic movie. This is the way superhero movies are supposed to be made, I thought, when I sat there in the theater and watched this thing, almost 20 years ago now. Number 2, Iron Man from 2008. But my number 1 movie, the movie that I have seen the most, the movie that I paid to go into the theater to see the most, is 2012's The Avengers. The Avengers, to me, is just a perfect comic book movie. It's got everything it needs. It's got the story where things happen for good, logical reasons. I was watching a video the other day of somebody who was going through and talking about how the Avengers would be different if people would just stop and think. And he's taking Loki to task for the various things that he does. But everything Loki does is for a good reason. It's with a target in sight. He does it with intent. When he gets captured because he wants to be captured. It's not a lack of foresight on his part that he just sits there and watches, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, have their pissing contest. He deliberately sticks around because he needs to be caught in order for his plan to work. Everything about the movie connects. The story is strong. The acting is strong. The pacing is good. The action level never dips so much that you think to yourself, well, now would be a good time to go get some popcorn, or now's a good time for me to go to the bathroom. I think I can get back before something exciting happens. It was just an all-around good movie. When it came out, I went to see it in the theater, I don't know, half dozen times, 8 times maybe. Several times I went to go see this thing, to the point where I was starting to memorize bits and pieces. The readouts on the Quinjet when Coulson and Steve Rogers are going out to the helicarrier for the first time. I had those memorized, for example. So I saw the movie several times and have watched it since. Probably the most of all of these, which is why I've got it at number 1. I think it's just a perfect comic book movie. 2012's The Avengers. And so that's how I would rank the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, at least the bottom 5 in the top 10. What do you think, fanboys? Do you agree? Do you disagree? In many ways? Drop that comment down below. I always love hearing from you. Just remember, it's all subjective. There's no objective right and wrong here. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd click the like button. While you're down there, go ahead and click the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to me, so I very much appreciate it. If you do subscribe, go ahead and click the bell for notifications. The YouTube folks appreciate that, so on their behalf, I thank you. Thanks again for hanging out with me today, and I hope that the rest of your day is invigorating. See you soon.